Hey guys, I had to stoke the fire a bit. It's not the coldest of days, but I practiced my fire making skills in very wet conditions and it was tough. This is the Ganzo G720. Now, I promise I won't mind the smoke if you don't. I have had this knife for about 2 months. When I got it, I was actually testing a different folder, and I put that one aside and started carrying this one. Before I could start working with this, I had to reduce the edge angle. The initial edge angle was about 35 degrees per side, which was a lot. I mean, you could cut stuff with it, but when it came to cardboard, it was very tough, and wood, it would just jump out of the cut. You could get just shavings of wood, but you couldn't really cut a piece of wood with it. So I put it on my Lansky, and it took me quite some time to get it from a 35 degrees per side to a 20 degree per side. But it was worth it. Now, the reason why I really wanted this knife and really couldn't wait to start testing it is because I was always a fan of the SR1 model from Lion Steel. I've had this one for about 2 years, I guess. I used it, but I haven't used it nearly as much as I used this one. And I use this for everyday tasks, cutting food, paper, cardboard, plastic, but I also used it to split wood, batoned it through a lot of very hard wood. I have a video. I will add the link to that video in the description of this one. And it did not disappoint. The first time I batoned it, I have to be honest, I didn't really expect it to make it out in one piece. But I wanted to see how hard I could actually hit the back of this folder with a piece of wood until something will give out. And to my surprise, it didn't. Now, this is my first experience with 440C. And if this is the way that 440C behaves, I like it. I have sharpened this knife once when I modified the edge angle. After that, all I did to keep it sharp was strop it. I never put it on a ceramic stone or used a steel hone on it. I just stropped it. I guess after the second or third batoning session, it had, I think, 3 spots. I guess from the first, it had a bit of a chip here, and then 2 more up here. I don't know when those came, from what they came. But like I said, I just dropped the knife, and in everyday tasks, when I cut stuff, or even out here, if I just cut a piece of wood, I don't feel those. Now, this is not the hardest of woods, but the knife is actually very stable in hand. It has a thick blade, which gives it a lot of weight. It has full steel liners. They're not drilled. This whole thing weighs 200 grams. You can feel that in your hand, but you can also feel how stable it is. I wouldn't go to say this is a bushcraft knife, but you could, by all means, split wood with this one, as I did. You can chop with it because of the shape of the handle. If you hold it like this with 2 fingers, it won't fly out of your hand if you squeeze a bit. You could put a lanyard on it attached to your pinky, and then you won't have any problems. But also, the G10, this pattern on the G10 helps it stay in your hand. The clip, the pocket clip, I like. I like the fact that it's longer than the one on the SR1A. See that? And I had some problems with this one. I never had any problems with this one. But I don't like the fact that it's shiny. It just sticks out. rather have it black, and I'll probably put some sandpaper on it. At least it won't be as shiny. Maybe try to blue it or paint over it. The handle is thick enough that it will sit comfortable in my hand. That was one problem that I had with the SR1A. Too thin. And because it's a frame lock, the SR1A, it has these sharp edges that always bothered me. Don't have that problem with this one. Now, I don't use the glass breaker, and some people said, well, you need a special key to reposition the pocket clip. You don't. I just used my Leatherman. Untighten it. You can then take it off with your hand, reposition the clip, and do that. Old Torx construction, I imagine it's very easy to take apart. I never did that. After the third time I batoned it, it did sustain some damage. It now has some forward-backward blade play. You can also see the bolt in there move. It's not huge, and it does not bother me. The only time I am aware of its existence is when I strop the knife, because if I push a bit harder, I'll feel the blade move. Not a problem for me. And considering what I did to it and the damage it sustained, it's really nothing. Now, if you want this knife not to have any side-to-side blade play, you will have to tighten the pivot. Right now, it has a bit of blade play. If you put your fingers on the tip and move it, you can feel it. But if you go halfway and move it, you can't really feel it. So it's really tiny. But this allows me to just open and close the knife via the axis lock, which I really like. One more difference between this one and the SR1A that I'm going to point out is the position of the thumb stud. You can see this. Now, the SR1A doesn't really have the most natural position of the thumb stud if you're trying to open it slow. For me, I have to put my hand like this, and I'll push exactly with this part of my thumb. With the G720, I can push a bit lower, which is more comfortable, and I don't feel the need to reposition my finger when the thumb stud goes near the handle, as I feel here. You see, it's very close, too close, I would say. Comparable, maybe, I don't know, but this one is more comfortable. Up until this knife, I thought that the Rat Model 1 was the most comfortable folder. Of course, an Opinel will be more comfortable, but you can't really open an Opinel and play with it as you can with folders like this, and that's really 30, 40, 50%, depending what you do, of a folder, how much fun it is to play with. And this one is tons of fun. Like I said, I never opened it, never really cleaned it out. I will, and I will have to see if I can fix this blade play. It doesn't bother me. For $20, if this bothers you so much, you can just chuck it and get a new one. That was one reason I was so amazed with this knife. A lot of people told me they don't like the texture of the G10, that it's rough. I didn't have that problem with mine. And if you do, you can just take some sandpaper and sand it down. And also, two people actually told me that they have a problem with the knife in the last part of closing, that it moves really stiff. Mine just snaps back closed. So I don't have a problem. Being that this is a very inexpensive knife, I assume such issues could appear. But I still like it. I will probably keep this in my toolbox because planning to get a new one, modify the edge angle again, and use it for what it's meant. Or maybe I'll just see how far I can push this until it breaks. I have not pried with it yet, but as you could see in my previous video about this knife, I did split a lot of wood and chop with it. And I was very pleasantly surprised. It is heavy, and that is its major drawback. 200 grams. For some people that's going to be a problem. For me, it's not really a problem. I like the weight. It feels very stable in hand, and whenever I go out to work with this knife, and I'm thinking, well, you know, I'm at a cabin, I'm going to probably chop with it. I do have my little Torx head, and I retighten the pivot. Now, a few people have actually suggested that I use Loctite. I've always stayed away from using Loctite on the pivot screw because small drop of it might leak, and then you will have to open it up and clean it. I don't have that much experience with Loctite, but at some point I probably will do that as well. I hope you liked my review of the knife. I certainly like the knife. I wanted to actually sit down, take a lot of cardboard, keep cutting, and tell you how well it holds an edge. But since I've only needed to strop the edge back to sharp, no matter how much I work with it, even after I worked a whole day with it, just cutting wood, chopping wood, splitting wood, I think that it does well in that chapter. And anyway, for $20, you can't really expect very high performance, but it did exceed my expectations. If there's anything else you would like to know about this knife, ask me in the comment section. I will answer it gladly and as fast as I can. My opinion about this knife versus this knife, some people have asked me. This is a very cool knife. It is rather expensive, and I could not find it in me to abuse this knife. But I had no problems abusing this one, and it turned out great. I will, like I said, probably get another one, modify it, and keep it. And this one, it's still good. I'd like to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I wish you all a great day.